Welcome to another edition of GSC's Digital Network Update Show presented by Florida's Space Coast. Remember, you can head to visitspacecoast.com to learn more about a vacation to remember. Welcome to this GSC Digital Network Update Show. We'll lead things off by talking a little bit about the Gulf South Conference and the newest AFCA NCAA Division II football coaches poll. 2 teams in the top 10. Check this poll out. Top 10 released just earlier this week. And the Gulf South Conference has not only North Alabama, but also Delta State listed in that top 25, both in the top 10. Delta State at number 9, North Alabama at number 4. Big news for the Gulf South Conference as we get closer to postseason action in NCAA's Division II postseason tournament. In the meantime, let's get into GSC football and the week that was. As the midpoint of the 2014 GSC football season crossed last week with 2 squads surviving the first 6 weeks of action with perfect records. You probably can predict who those 2 teams are after hearing the top 10, as Delta State preserved its perfect overall and league marks on Thursday night of last week when the Statesmen earned their 3rd GSC TV victory of the season, topping Shorter at home 35-20. DSU rebounded from a 20-14 halftime deficit as the offense scored 21 unanswered points and the defense pitched a shutout in the final 30 minutes of action. The other undefeated team, North Alabama. They remained perfect, jumping out of league play for the 2nd time in 3 weeks and earning a non-conference in-region victory at the University of North Carolina Pembroke on Saturday with a score of 26-7. Third-string redshirt freshman quarterback Jacob Thomas earned his first ever start, leading the Lions to 5 scoring drives headlined by back-to-back touchdowns in the 4th quarter. Both Valdosta State and West Georgia have recently dropped out of the AFCA Top 25. They played one another this past weekend in the Georgia rivalry that is known as the Peach State tradition. Valdosta State dropped West Georgia from the ranks of the unbeatens on Saturday, cruising to a 40-6 win in its Peach State rivalry. The in-state foes entered the 2nd quarter tied 3-3, but VSU reeled off 37 unanswered points, capped by a 14-point 4th quarter. Quarterback Jake Medlock combined for 376 yards and 4 TDs, while the Blazers' defense held UWG to 261 total yards and 0 touchdowns. Florida Tech continued to provide late-game excitement, scoring the game-winning touchdown with just 2 seconds remaining en route to a 33-32 triumph at West Alabama. Freshman quarterback Mark Cato led his offense's late-game efforts, tossing the go-ahead 5-yard pass to Gabe Hughes in FIT's first-ever win over the University of West Alabama. The Panthers' final result was determined on their final possession for the 3rd time in 4 weeks. Florida Tech scored the go-ahead points over Tarleton State with 3:56 left on the clock, and then suffered a 1-point loss at Bethune-Cookman, an in-state rivalry, after attempting to win the game on a 2-point conversion with 19 seconds left. And rounding things up for the GSC on the gridiron is Mississippi College, who secured its first win of the season after recording its highest point total since 2009 in a 56-14 home victory over University of Faith. MC's defense led the way by turning 3 turnovers into touchdowns. Senior defensive back Dylan Kleibert scored on a 21-yard interception return and a 58-yard fumble recovery, while sophomore linebacker Joseph Camo scooped up a 17-yard fumble for a touchdown. We'll have more highlights, standings, and action not only in GSC football, but GSC men's and women's soccer, and GSC volleyball as we get closer to crowning champions in all those sports. And don't forget about GSC Cross Country's championships coming up in less than a month, as we'll be covering them from the headquarters in Birmingham, just near where the championships take place. Until then, you can check out all the live standing stats and highlights on the website, gscsports.org. And for everybody at the Gulf South Conference, I'm Jim Cavall, and this has been a GSC Digital Network update. A reminder that this week's edition of GSC's Digital Network Update Show is provided by Florida's Space Coast. You can find them on the web at visitspacecoast.com to learn more about a vacation to remember. We'd like to thank our friends at Florida's Space Coast for presenting each week's update on the GSC Digital Network. And until next time, I'm Jim Cavell, and this has been your GSC Digital Network Update.